Hello there!
Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
We are in person for the first time in around a month. So excited. Welcome back to Star Wars in the Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I think I already said that, but whatever. Today, we are continuing on our grind through the Clone Wars Season 5. Today, we are talking about the Jedi Younglings arc, or as I'm calling it, the Little Einsteins arc, because I put Little Einsteins over the first episode, and it sounds good. We're looking at the gathering, a test of strength, bound for rescue, and a necessary bond in episode 64 of Star Wars in a Galaxy.
So, in the gathering, Ahsoka and a group of younglings travel to Ilum to do the ancient ritual, the Jedi ritual of getting their Kyber crystals.
Yep.
So, as you can imagine, all the Jedi younglings, they have to go into this big cave. They all face different trials and tribulations, kind of, I guess, not really designed, but willed by the Force. They face unique challenges that kind of test them and test their individual weaknesses. You know, Gunji needs to learn to be patient.
We'll get into it one of the episodes.
So, like, for example, like, you know, that kind of thing. And then they have to make it out before one rotation, and there's some predictable drama and hijinks, but at the end of the day, everyone gets out. They have their crystal.
Yep, that's it. Our fortune cookie is he who faces himself finds himself. And I'd like to, because of sexism, I'd like to redo that. Those who face themselves find themselves.
Yes. I like this fortune cookie a lot. I don't know about you. It is a little bit more straight. It is one of the more straightforward ones, but I don't mind this one because if you think about it, it really is just a big theme in Star Wars, especially with the Force, with Force-wielding characters. I'm thinking a lot about Luke, to some extent Anakin, definitely Rey, especially in The Last Jedi. Also Obi-Wan, if we look at some of the novels, I think. Also Ahsoka in the Ahsoka novel. I think Ezra as well. Like, the list goes on. But I think it's cool how Force characters especially, they really all have introspection, at least on the light side. And facing yourself as a big part of their journey.
I would say on the dark side as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Vader and Kylo Ren are the two that I think about automatically.
That's a good point. They do a lot of brooding. A lot of brooding.
I mean, tell me that Kylo Ren is not tell me that Kylo Ren does not listen to My Chemical Romance whenever he's,
Yeah, true. I really like how it kind of codifies what we've already seen and what we know about introspection in terms of characters' relationships to the Force, and it kind of makes it into a tradition, which I think is pretty cool.
Absolutely. This arc is for me, it's a very coming of age arc.
Oh, absolutely.
It's in the tradition of Obi-Wan and not Obi-Wan. It's in the tradition of Anakin and Luke and Rey and Ezra and all those hero's journey characters. We get 6 mini hero's journeys with all of them. But yeah, it's a good fortune cookie. I like this, probably the best of all the fortune cookies generally in this arc.
It's simple, but
powerful.
It's simple, but it is very powerful. For this.
Do you want to move on to the episode?
Yeah, let's get into it. What are your thoughts on the opening?
So, let's talk about a larger thing, which I know you love to talk about, and this really shows this arc. Let's talk about the Jedi Order losing their way.
Ooh.
Because in this episode specifically is one of the strongest cases, in my opinion, for exactly what the Jedi are doing and where the Jedi are going.
I didn't really think about it from that angle. I'd love to hear more about that.
So, yeah. What is the biggest symbol of the Jedi Order?
The lightsaber?
That's correct. And it's about how the lightsaber is presented to people. What is the lightsaber presented constantly over and over again to these younglings as
I see. You think it's like too much of like
a
weapon. Too much of a
weapon. But, Yoda says in 5 in Empire on Dagobah, a Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack.
Yeah.
And, Yoda goes, how do Jedi defend themselves? Protect others. How does a Jedi? And then he immediately whips out a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying that shouldn't be your first resort.
Yeah, I think something that's relevant here, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but I remember in the Jedi Path, one of the annotations in that like Jedi Path, the blue handbook guidebook thing, which I love very much. It says something about how the lightsaber is the greatest power of the lightsaber is not what it can do, it's what it represents. And I think that is very true here, and that is partly, I think, to go back to what you were saying, maybe what is being lost, maybe what you're getting at there.
Yeah. And like I agree with you, and it's one of those things where it's just like, they're talking so much about the war side of the Jedi. There's this point in the next episode, Test of Strength. What does Petro say the first thing he's going to do with his new lightsaber is?
It's like, I'm going to defeat Grievous.
I'm going to challenge Obi-Wan Kenobi to a duel, and I'm going to kill Grievous.
Good luck with that, buddy.
And then the problem, and then everybody says what you do. Everybody acts like his problem is the overconfidence. And it is, but it's also resorting to violence is the first way to solve a problem.
And it's understandable, but that is.
But nobody calls him out on that. Like, literally nobody. I watched the scene again. I'm like, why does nobody call him out on the first thing he wants to do with his lightsaber is violence?
Yeah, where's the knowledge and defense?
Where's the peacekeeping? For God's sake.
Yeah, of course.
And there's also I'm flashing to The Last Jedi. Yoda says, the Force made physical a Jedi is.
Yeah.
And then I flash to Luke in Last Jedi. To say that the Force belongs to the Jedi is vanity. Can you feel that?
Yeah, I mean...
Like, this is ridiculous. Also, on the subject of the Jedi losing their way, why do Ahsoka and Yoda have to gaslight them about the cave?
Yeah, why?
I don't understand. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I think this is a good example. Also coming off of, or I guess it's not going to be out yet. But I think gearing up for the Wrong Jedi, that arc. I think it's a good example of how the Jedi are so kind of, at least the higher up Jedi, are so invested in maintaining their mystique, like not letting the curtain ruffle, not letting anyone see behind the curtain, that they're willing to kind of do some not so savory things. In this case, it is much less extreme, even if it is just maybe hoodwinking the younglings about the cave.
Yeah,
but I think it's an interesting parallel nonetheless.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I actually am thinking about a trial arc as well, because Ahsoka seems like a true hype Jedi right now. You know what I mean? She seems like she's all in, and it's so crazy how she goes from 100 to 0 in the span of 8 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's we'll get to that, but I think that's a great example of just how true to herself that she remains, despite her devotion to the Jedi also.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sets her as an upstanding, heroic character apart from someone like Obi-Wan, who has totally devoted his life. Like Ahsoka, I'm not saying she is worse necessarily, but she has a different kind of devotion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So I want to talk also about Ilum.
Oh,
this is the first chronological appearance of Ilum.
Love Ilum.
Ilum is
Very
so cool.
Planet.
and we also found out that Ilum is destroyed in Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Yes.
Because Ilum is Starkiller based.
Has that been confirmed?
That has been confirmed. That's been all but confirmed.
So,
we see the hollowing out of Ilum in Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, no
that
kidding.
looks really like Starkiller base. Like, too good to be true. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And also, the Ilum Temple is very interesting with those, like, tall spires and the statues of the old Jedi and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really... I mean, I think part of what makes this arc fun for me is just the visuals of it. And I really think the animators and in the directing, they did not hold back here.
They knocked it out of the park.
It was awesome. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Also, did you notice that the Ilum Temple was unlocked by cooperation?
Yeah.
And that the Lothal Temple in Rebels is also unlocked by cooperation?
I love that. That was a great detail.
Yeah. That all those temples are consistent.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Anything about the beginning of the episode before they go in?
Before they go in the temple?
Yeah.
Let me see. I think I'm good. Yeah.
I think I might have one more thing actually.
Oh, by all means.
Here we go. So, only you can know which one is yours, says Ahsoka about the crystal. Does that remind you of anything?
I did find this part very, as I'll get to later, I found it a little bit kind of very, very Harry Potter-y in a way.
The one chooses the wizard, Mr. Potter.
Yeah.
The one chooses the wizard. I actually really like the Potter-esque route that they chose with this. I'm not gonna lie. I liked how they used it. I liked that like everybody has a unique signature. In the Force, like, you know, it calls back to ambush clones you may be, but in the Force, very different you all are.
Yeah.
And I love that idea, and I love that they each have to face their own challenges to get their crystal, and yeah, I love all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love that as well. But I mean, it's nice. It is a bit disappointing to me, at least in comparison to the way it worked in Legends with Osis and Ilum. And now the reason maybe that in the newer days of the Republic there are not so many multicolored lightsabers is because of Osis's demise. I kind of miss that. To me it feels... I guess I just like the way that it plays and the vibe, I guess, that it gives to this story and the universe of Star Wars. I kind of like that a little bit more so than the kind of like, oh, it's like based on your personality, or it's like based on...
I like it personally more in canon than I do in Legends, though I wish they would keep the color thing, to be completely honest, because I think it's interesting. But yeah, do we want to just get into the trials?
Yeah, let's get into the trials.
So the 6 younglings go in, and immediately they're already split into 2 groups.
Yeah.
Because...
Of course they are.
Petra leaves.
Yeah. Because of course he does.
Because of course he does.
Because he's the hot-headed one.
Yeah. He's very Anakin-esque. He's like...
Oh, yeah.
He reminds me a little too much of Anakin.
He's like a little bit of a mini Anakin almost, I'd say.
Too sure of themselves they are. A flaw more and more common among Jedi, as Yoda said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's that, you know, like, he's of course very selfish, and he wants it all for himself.
He does.
And he has to learn that it's all about what they have to learn. It's all about what the different Jedi have to learn. The kids have to learn. Petra has to learn to be selfless. And of course, his challenge goes at the end. Also, by the way, I gotta just say, I love Yoda, but he was an asshole in this episode.
Really? You really think so? I guess.
A crystal you have found. Water you have brought. Like, damn, man. Wow.
I mean, to be fair, Petra was being
He was
pretty obnoxious.
Like, I know.
I thought that was a funny. I like that. That was a funny.
I like it, but I think it's a little too much sometimes. I have an idea. So I just tackled Petro. Since there's 6 of them, why don't we split them up 3 and 3?
All right.
So you want to do Biff next? Because Biff is next.
Biff. Yeah. I love Biff because I have a massive soft spot for Ithorians because I feel like in Star Wars they're constantly getting, as background characters, they're constantly just getting plunked. Like, oh, you need someone who's not going to do anything. You need somebody who's just going to be sad or scared or whatever. Put an Ithorian in. So I want to see a real... My dream is to have a character who's a really badass Ithorian. I think that'd be pretty awesome.
Cool.
But with that being said, Biff, it's a little bit neatly... I guess all of these, they kind of suffer from being a little bit too neatly wrapped up. I guess you might say, a little bit too cleanly packaged. Not necessarily to all of them. To some of them, maybe to the point where it starts to feel a little bit too cookie cuttery, a little bit too cereal. But for the most part, I think it works. But I think Biff's is one that is a little bit... It's not the most on the nose, but it's definitely not the most complex either, I'd say. But yeah. I kind of like it. Like,
I like Biff.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I like Biff's as well. I like specifically that he's never hurt in that cave.
Yeah.
He never gets hurt. It's just the smoke and mirrors that he's facing.
It's all smoke and mirrors.
It's all smoke and mirrors. That's all it is.
Yeah.
He has to learn to... It's the FDR quote. The only thing to fear is fear itself.
Yeah. And I think this one is kind of amazing. In a way, I think, because it's just so... I think it's so universal what Biff deals with.
Absolutely.
Especially, moving through all phases of life, I would say, or at least for all of my life that I've experienced. But then also, especially like as a child, like as the younglings would be moving into kind of moving into teenagerdom, or moving from a kid to like a tween, really just literally fear. At least for me, I remember that being a huge problem, and just the fear of especially things that didn't exist, or just excessive worrying. So I really empathize with that. And then I think to me it really kind of hit me because I was kind of relating that to my experiences with mental health and anxiety. And so that I thought that it was really cool that it was kind of saying, like, you have to keep moving forward, because a lot of it is kind of
just smoke and mirrors.
A lot of it, at least in my experience, maybe not for other things, but for anxiety, at the very least, it is... I think it does a good job of portraying how... Whether this is purposeful or not, it does a really good job of portraying how, like, yes, it is, like, mostly in your head, and the vast majority of things you can fixate on are mostly in your head, but that doesn't mean that it isn't still...
real,
absolutely petrifying, and completely changes your experience of the world.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that, honestly. And that was something I wasn't really going into that episode expecting to get that much out of it.
Yeah, Biff's challenge is, I think, one of my favorites. I think Biff's is one of my favorite. I think Biff is good. I like KATOONI, and I like Gnodi as well, actually. I like Gunji, actually. I'm less thrilled about Zat's and Petro's, but whatever. Next is Gnodi. Who faces a challenge of hope. As the very wise Leia Organa would say, hope is like the sun. If you only believe in it when you see it, you'll never make it through the night. She couldn't find her crystal for a long time. And she's losing hope. She has to maintain the hope that she can find it, and trust in her instincts, and trust that, hope. We have hope that things will get better, and they
100%.
will.
100%.
Like Hera says at the end of Vision of Hope. There we go.
Yeah.
Vision
I don't know which one that is, unfortunately.
I've been rewatching season 1 of Rebels recently, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to do KATOONI or do you want to do Zat or do you want to do Gunji?
I want to talk about Gunji
Sure.
because I love Wookiees as well.
Yeah.
I think Wookiees are awesome. Who doesn't want a giant walking carpet to be their best friend? That would just that'd be my dream come true. Um, yeah, I thought that this one again a little bit simpler. He just has to learn patience. But I think that it's a good. I think it's a good lesson nonetheless, because it's kind of saying even if your patience is well intended, even if you have really good intentions, even if you're just wanting the best for even other people, even if it's for a selfless reason, like impatience and rushing is still problematic.
Yeah. I like I so Yoda said patience was the challenge for Gunji. And while I agree, I would specify it a little bit more. First, what do you think about patience? Do you think it's all right for if you had to choose a word to summarize what his challenge was? Do you think patience would be the one?
Probably. What
Okay,
would you
because
use?
I would
I
choose
think
resolve.
you think that it's more about the resolve
It's
to
about
not go
patience.
across.
No, it's about patience, but it's also about because he has to wait there and he still has to want it.
Yeah.
It's not just about waiting; it's also about wanting it. And I think there's a big part of that which is about he has to wait, but he also has to like make a plan. He has to want it, um, and I think that's ultimately what his is about. Um, I guess I'll go into KATOONI's very
All
quickly.
right.
KATOONI's is confidence. As opposed to Petro, I don't think that KATOONI believes in herself enough. But by climbing a literal mountain, that's what she does. She climbs the cliff, basically. That she is the one that she builds up that confidence in herself that she can be the Jedi she sees in herself.
100%.
Yeah, she's my. By the way, I know. Like, I think Alden Diaz actually has tweeted out his love several times for Gunchi. KATOONI is my favorite of all of them, and like, I need to see more of her character. I need to see more of KATOONI's character. I love that character, and I need to see more of her. I want her to become like another version of another version of Ahsoka. I want more KATOONI content. Please give it to me. Even if that means, by the way, even if that means I will be willing to accept KATOONI surviving Order 66 if that means more content from her.
What exactly about Katuni is it that makes
I
you
don't know.
this passionate about
She's
getting
just this
more?
wide-eyed Jedi kid, and she's very she has a lot of universal stuff that I feel like in her that she's like she has a lot of hope and a lot of fear, and she reminds me a lot of the Hero's Journey characters, especially your Ahsoka's, your
Yeah.
Rey's, your Luke's, your Anakin's, but yeah, especially she reminds me of somebody like Rey, who's very wide-eyed and doesn't have any hatred for anybody, who's just wants to go out into the world and do what she can do.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. You want to go to Zat's challenge?
Zat. Zat. I mean, I think this one worked out for me at least. I thought it worked out pretty well.
Oh, I wasn't great
I
at this
thought it
one.
was a little. Yeah, I think it was a bit on the it was on the cut and dry side compared to maybe one like Katuni. But I mean, relatively speaking, they kind of all are. So not a huge deal. But obviously it ends up, oh, you have to use your intuition. You can't use the technology. Which it worked out pretty well. I thought it was cool how it was not like, oh, it wasn't just like, oh, you have to. It wasn't just like, oh, you have to reject technology, but it was kind of, oh, you can use technology if you want, but you have to use your intuition, and you can like you use your intuition. Sorry, I'm losing track of what I'm trying to say. You like use your intuition. You can combine that with technology. How he kind of overloads the his tablet thing to break the wall. So like something like that, I think it's cool rather than just saying, "Oh, you don't need it," because I think that just widens the path in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about that's one myself, but I can accept it. It's not bad. I just don't love it. But yeah, I also let's. You want to circle back to Petro for a second because I love the moment he saves KATOONI. The moment he saves KATOONI is probably one of my favorite moments in this episode. It's a very Ben Solo, Anakin Skywalker. It's never too late to make a change. You know, he runs out. He's gonna run past her, but then he makes the choice to save her. And then he gets to have that heroic moment where he breaks through the ice. Yeah, I really love that idea about choice and about make your choices matter, your ideas and your legacy matters. I love that.
I like the way they also check him, like with the melting ice. Like I thought that was a fun Yoda moment.
Yeah, though I will say a Yoda moment that does annoy me. But wait, you said we'd be trapped in there.
Yeah.
Only water made solid was the door. I'm like, Yoda, come on, man. There will be nothing anybody can do for you. Is literally something Ahsoka said. What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Why? And by the way, while we're at it, how did Yoda get inside the temple?
Yeah.
How did Yoda get inside the... Like... Anyway. Got anything else for the gathering?
No, I don't know. I thought this was a pretty solid episode. I wasn't a huge fan of the structure of it, just the way it was like, oh, boom, boom, lesson, lesson, lesson. Hey, kids, here's the moral. I don't think it was as interesting as it could have been, but, it was a serviceable episode, so no complaints here.
This is personally my favorite episode of the arc,
Really?
which doesn't speak, in my opinion, to its greatness, even though it is a great episode. But I think I've just seen this arc so many times that I've just begun to be let down by this arc a little bit. It's just not an arc that does it for me, I guess. None of them are bad episodes. I was watching them, I'm like, yeah, this is just kind of happening. Like definitely with a test of strength, I was like, yeah, this is just kind of happening. I'd say that with the first half of Bound for Rescue too. Yeah, this is just kind of happening. After they get on the floor, I'm just like, okay, fine. But no, Gathering is like, it's a hidden gem, I feel like. It's one of those episodes that doesn't get talked about as much as it probably should be talked about, as just one of the most interesting and and one of the best episodes of the Clone Wars, in my opinion, for character development. Yeah. Anything else before we move on to a test of strength?
No, I'm ready to go.
Okay, let's go do a test of strength.
So, in a test of strength, the younglings are journeying back from Ilum. They are having a grand old time with Huyang, this interesting robot Jedi Master, you might say. When who else but Hondo Ohnaka, of course it's Hondo, it's always got to be Hondo, rolls up with his gang of pirates, attacks the ship. A lot of hijinks ensue. Ahsoka eventually helps evacuate the younglings into the air vents. They hide. However, Ahsoka is then captured. And that is the episode.
Yeah. Our fortune cookie is... The young are often underestimated.
Yeah, maybe a little too straightforward. Maybe this one's a little too straightforward. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about it just because it's so...
It's pretty cut and dry.
pretty basic, yeah.
The people who seem to have the least impact actually have the most impact.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, you can't. I love the message of this because it's just like you can't you can't count you can't count anyone out. You know?
Yep.
Yeah. So I love that personally, even though maybe it's not said as eloquently as it could have been, but still love it.
Yeah, I like the fortune cookie as well. Should we get into it?
Absolutely.
Um, yeah. By the way, so let's talk about the Whirlwind of Destiny, which is the move that Petra is practicing. That was actually Star Wars: The Clone Wars held a little contest for fans to submit the move for Petra to do, and
Oh yes.
um,
The
uh,
Hasbro. Was it the become join the Jedi? Was it? Was it?
created by a 9-year-old fan named Brendan Lake, who won Hasbro's Join the Jedi contest with the Whirlwind of Destiny. Lake received screen credit for the Whirlwind of Destiny. Yeah, Brendan Lake is the guy's name.
Brendan Lake. Congratulations, Brendan Lake. Thank you for the awesome
Whirlwind
move.
of Destiny.
And I hope you are doing well wherever
Yeah.
you are now.
Even if it's kind of dumb because the Jedi should be really not practicing that move.
Yeah.
Not your move is not dumb. I'm just saying the Jedi practicing that move is like they're peacekeepers. Come on. Anyway, yeah. Everything that Huyang mentions in his little monologue to them, I want to see more of. I want to see. He talks about the bone of the Cartusian whale. First of all, there are whales in Star Wars. How is nobody freaking out about
I
this?
know.
There are whales in Star. We need to see it. What planet does it live on? How does the natives of the planet interact with it? Is it rare? Am I thinking way too much about a random reference to a whale? Yes. Is this my job on this podcast? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to see the Cartusian whale. I also want to see the battles of Rashfond and the peacekeeping of Parliok.
Yeah.
Also, Cato
That'd be
Nemoidia,
awesome.
we're actually getting the story now. We're actually getting the Cato Nemoidia story. So now, what we can do is we can just say, hey, Disney, good job on the Cato Nemoidia story. Now let's get the peacekeeping of freaking Parliok. Okay? High Republic, do whatever you gotta do. I will, invest heavily in the High Republic if they talk about the peacekeeping of Parliok.
Yeah. That would...
If it involves the Nile, whatever. If it involves the Drengir, whatever. If it involves, the levelers and whatever stuff is in the High Republic, whatever. Do what you gotta do. Peacekeeping of Parliok. Come on.
Yeah, pretty great. This was an interesting episode to me. I kind of liked... If we can shift topics now.
Go ahead.
I thought it was interesting. I mean, actually, is there anything else you want to say pre-pirate?
Nope, go ahead.
I think it's interesting. I kind of like how Ahsoka, they really treat her as a fully fledged character and a Jedi. There's not like a mission really that she's sent on by Anakin. It's just her assignment. It's not designed, at least as a story, kind of to prove the flaw, to prove anything about flaws that she hasn't noticed. And I think she kind of this is a big episode for her in terms of taking another large step forwards. Again, kind of feeling like that is kind of giving you that feeling of like, oh yeah, we are gearing up for something big. Like this is gonna crescendo soon. The Wrong Jedi, it's coming. So I thought that was pretty cool. It felt like they were just kind of raising the bar for Ahsoka again, which I liked.
I like that too. I will say it is a little weird that they didn't bring more security on this trip.
Yeah, it is. There are a lot of things in there kind of suspend disbelief.
Yeah, I mean, I'm that's not an issue with the arc. It's an issue for me. It's an issue with the Jedi. Like I could totally see the Jedi being like, they'll be fine. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
That was pretty much the worst that could happen. Yeah. By the way, David Tennant as Huyang. fantastic. Does it all. Good stuff. I loved Huyang in this arc. David Tennant killed it.
Yeah, it was great. Very interesting character. This part, I was going to say, this really gave me, like, Ollivander. Is that the wand guy in Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Boom, remembered it. You gave me Ollivander. A lot of Ollivander vibes. It was pretty,
Yeah.
I thought it, I mean, I haven't read or watched Harry Potter in a while, but I feel like it was a good kind of homage to that, you know, to him like doing his whole patter about like, oh, you choose the thing and it reflects, you know, who you are, la da da.
Absolutely. This is a very Potter-esque arc, and Jacob and I think, I don't know about you, Potter is the fandom I'm most into besides Star Wars, so I do a lot of comparisons between the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, Huyang is awesome. So do we want to get to Hondo? Do we want to get to the pirates?
Yeah, let's do it. Because why wouldn't we have Hondo in this episode?
Yeah.
No.
To be completely honest,
pops up everywhere.
I don't like the move of bringing Hondo in. I don't like the move of bringing Hondo in.
Really?
I love Hondo as a character, but I think it's a boring choice.
I think it's a little bit... I don't know. I feel like Hondo felt a little bit off.
He did. He definitely did.
In this episode, I'm going to be honest. Like, it just kind of... He felt so brutal. Or not necessarily brutal, but he felt so ruthless in this episode, you know? He's, like, willing to, you know, kind of... kill children. He's like willing.
But then he's like in the fourth episode. He's like in Necessary Bond. He's like, but everything's fine, right?
Yeah. Like maybe he realizes that he was going too far, but obviously Hondo, he's not a particularly. He's not a shining pillar of moral upright role modelness. But
he's
like
never straight evil.
Yeah, like he never.
Except
he
for
always
like
still,
you know like.
It feels like his heart is still more or less in the right place.
Yeah.
But this is also the guy who, like...
I was thinking of bounty hunters.
He was totally electrocuted Anakin and Obi-Wan in season 1, too.
He did the thing with the farmers on Felucia.
Yeah, I'm kind of... Maybe my love of Hondo has kind of made him seem a little nice, more of a nice guy. I think Rebels, especially... Yeah, at least to me.
And Galaxy's, a lot of stuff Galaxy's Edge has been doing.
I feel like it is kind of, his image has been softened.
It has.
But I think that at the time...
It's like Hondo and Thrawn are doing the same thing except for in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Because like, Thrawn there's this constant tug of war between if he's an anti-hero or if he's a villain. And Hondo there seems to be this idea of if he's an anti-hero or if he's a hero.
Yeah.
There seems to be this constant tug of war that nobody's really sure about. But
yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like looking back on it now, looking back on what we had seen of Hondo up to this point. If you're watching this when it's airing, maybe it's not as jarring because maybe then you know Hondo as a little bit more of a pure kind of wild card anti-hero.
Yeah.
And a little bit less of the pirate with a heart of gold.
Yeah.
Maybe Hondo's heart is like silver or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pirate with a heart of silver. That's Hondo.
Here's some ideas for me for alternate villains. Okay. Number 3. Are you ready for this? Okay. Bring the bounty hunters in. Bring Aura Singh in.
Yeah.
Have her seek revenge on Ahsoka for that time in Assassin. Number 2, and this is gonna shock you. Okay. If you want to go full slasher on this thing, make it Ahsoka and the Younglings versus Maul.
Yeah.
And Savage. Just make it full slasher. And then, the best option that I could think of, okay? Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Make it so they're not intercepted by the pirates. Make it so they're intercepted by the Night Sisters. Specifically Mother Talzin.
That would be interesting, but I feel like the Night Sisters would rather...
I mean, all of them are dead, but except for Talzin, but like, you know.
I struggle to see a scenario in which the Night Sisters would like make an aggressive move or make any kind of move at all where they're not just chilling out
Well, then again,
on Dathomir. And yes, I know that in Legends
not
they
Legends,
do.
the Clone Wars. When season 6, when Talzin does the stuff with the Ferngul cult.
Right, of course. And I know that in Legends also, Book of Sith, they are known to kind of ship out some bounty hunters and mercenaries into the surrounding regions.
And they go places like Talzin goes to Sereno in season 3.
But especially in this part of the Clone Wars, in the Clone Wars at large, it would be weird to me to just see them puttering around.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be them again. It would be Talzin because all the rest of them are dead, but still.
Yeah.
No, I get your point, but I think it would have been cool.
That would be a crazy dynamic, though.
I know.
All the younglings trying to like hide from Talzin. She's like,
Ahsoka versus Talzin.
Okay, I feel
Who
like
does not want to see that?
I feel like Talzin wouldn't straight up try and hurt or kill the younglings. So like, I feel like she.
Well, maybe
I don't know.
if it's...
I feel like she'd have some kind of. I don't know. Like, I honestly feel like the Night Sisters. The more I think about it, and the more I rewatch the Clone Wars, it seems like what they really want is just to be left alone. So I don't really, unless she was maybe trying to ransom them or like use them for leverage. I couldn't really see what Talzin would really want with them.
I could tell you a motive. The same thing she wanted with Julia and she wanted, like, basically her empire on Dathomir was destroyed, and in the Disappeared arc she wanted it back. Maybe she tried with the Jedi. Maybe she tried doing a ritual with the Jedi kids. Maybe she thought she needed Force energy, like she did with Queen Julia Bardot. I don't know. My point is, Talzin was underutilized in the Clone Wars, and we needed to see her more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm always a big fan of the Night Sisters and Mother Talzin very specifically. I love that they're like, where should we hide? Oh, we should do the vents.
Yeah.
And then the pirates are like, where did they hide? And Hondo's like, you idiot, they're the vents.
Yeah, it's like how he knows.
I'm like,
he's watched Rebels. He's watched Rebels, and he's watched he's watched Star Wars.
He's watched Star Wars.
That's the oldest trick in the book. Come on, man.
Thank God, somebody's actually watched Star Wars.
What would we do?
What would we do without Hondo, who actually watches Star Wars? All I'll just add is, hand over the crystals, and no one gets hurt. Much,
yeah. That's like, I feel like in any other episode. Actually, I don't know. I feel like in any other episode, Hondo might have not added the much. But then again, it's Hondo. Like, he likes to do a little trolling, as they say.
Yeah.
But one cool thing that I researched and found out about was actually that the design of the Crucible was inspired by the Old Republic, the video games. Cool. And actually, on the inside of the ship, you can see still some of the markings. Some parts of the ship are marked with the ancient Jedi symbol from Star Wars: The Old Republic or Knights of the Old Republic.
That's cool.
Not Star Wars: The Old Republic. That's different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Knight KOTOR. Yeah, it's inspired. It's KOTOR inspired. That's what I'm trying to say.
We're gonna get to a very KOTOR inspired arc soon with our next episode of D Squad.
Ooh, yeah.
Which has a bunch of references to KOTOR and Legends. And hey, if you're part of the Nerd Academy podcast or the Bombad cast and you're watching this, it may or may not be part of my questions that I'm asking you guys. I'm not saying it is, I'm just not saying it isn't. You might want to research it, you might not hear this, and that's just your loss, honestly. But either way, I'm going to be torturing you guys, and I hope you're ready. Anyway, want to get on to Bound for Rescue.
Bound for Rescue. Let's do it.
In Bound for Rescue, Obi-Wan is contacted by the younglings, who realize that Ahsoka's captured by Hondo, and he's like, don't worry, we'll be there. And then Grievous attacks him for reasons I still can't explain. He just decides to attack him for some reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, Grievous attacks him, and he's like, okay, never mind. And they're like, okay, so we're gonna rescue Ahsoka now. So they do. The kids do what no parents want to see their kids do. The kids run off to join the circus. Literally. They literally infiltrate Hondo's base by joining the circus. Um, and while they're doing the circus, while Hondo's drunk, I think he is. He looks drunk anyway. While Hondo's drunk, they rescue Ahsoka, and they get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, okay. The fortune cookie. When we rescue others, we rescue ourselves.
I mean, again,
Really?
yes.
That's just a strange one, honestly, I feel like. It's just a strange one for me. Like, what do you mean when we rescue others, we rescue ourselves? That's really strange.
I kind of see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
There are fortune cookies where they're like, yeah, that's true. Then there are fortune cookies where you're like, yeah, that's true. And I think this is one of those ones where it's like, yeah, that's true, if you know what I mean. The second one, that is.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like I do kind of, yeah. I feel like it rings true in a big way for Star Wars, for life in general.
Okay, I guess you like it more than I do.
Yeah, so maybe I'm more of a fan of it than you do.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. By the way, here's something. Here's something. Do you realize who's piloting the Circus Master Priego's ship?
I did not.
Those are Alina from the Mercy Mission episode.
Really?
It was really strange. I'm like, wait, those are Alina. Why are Alina here?
Yeah, you're just kind of like, yes, this is happening now.
Cool. We're doing Alina now. Yeah. I gotta say also, they're joining the circus plan. It's surprising that kids in this universe can come up with better plans than most adults can. Because their circus plan is actually a pretty good plan.
Yeah, it is.
Like, compared to most plans that are made, this is actually a pretty good plan. Yeah. Also, drunk Jim Cummings. Drunk, Hondo. I may not be as young as I once was, but I'm older!
Yeah, I mean...
Like, what kind of line is that? I love it so much. Yeah. What do you got for, the beginning of Bound for Rescue?
Is it this episode or the next episode? We should point out that I think Revival was supposed to take place after this.
Yes.
Which explains why his base
is just
totally trashed.
Oh yeah, no,
Revival,
it's fine
totally
in this one.
Fine in this one.
Yeah.
Before Grievous just
yeah,
kind of throws a temper tantrum and destroys his base for no reason. It's interesting.
But
it's an interesting
we're gonna release Revival after this, the Revival episode. We've actually recorded that already, with people. I'll just say that we recorded this with guests, the Revival episode. I'm not gonna say who it was, but we recorded it with guests, plural guests. I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah. We have a bunch of cool guests coming. Anyway. Also, by the way, Kevin Kiner's carnival music, chef's kiss.
Yeah. The carnival scene is so unique, I think.
It's such a weird one.
The world building and what it brings. It just kind of brings a funky, different dimension. So, yeah, this episode wasn't my favorite. But I can appreciate the carnival scene for what it...
The carnival scene is so out there, but
it's
still... It works so well, in my opinion. Got anything else for for Bound for Rescue?
I was surprised. I was kind of surprised by, like, how far it kind of pushed the boundaries in terms of some of the more mature themes when Hondo was just, like, completely cruelly teasing Ahsoka and... That you're kicking it up a notch now, bud.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut that out. Yeah.
But I mean, it's great, obviously, that Ahsoka, not letting that really sway her determination, and I think it shows how she's put more in the role of a leader in this episode and given as she often is in the Clone Wars, given space as a character, just to step up, which I always love. We get opportunity to see that. But yeah, I didn't really have a lot for this episode. It was cool, a little bit of a sideshow. I don't know.
Yeah, it's whatever. Um, it's a good episode. Yeah. Uh, do we want to get to a necessary bond?
Necessary bond, yeah, let's do it.
In a necessary bond, the Jedi are recaptured by the pirates, only to find out that General Grievous has arrived. He's pissed because Hondo did that little thing where he held Dooku captured. And as Obi-Wan points out to Hondo at the end of the Gungan General, Dooku knows where Hondo lives. And Dooku makes good on that threat, and immediately starts melting down all of Hondo's shit. And then the Jedi then unite with Hondo to take on the droids and get them out of the Florum system, which they do, and then they get back home safe to a Star Destroyer commandeered by General Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is glad to see everybody safe. Fortune cookie is: choose your enemies wisely, as they may be your last hope.
Interesting fortune cookie. I'm not really sure exactly what they mean. I mean, I think obviously like the Hondo aspect of it, like for this particular episode, like yeah. But I mean, in general, as a fortune cookie, as a lesson, I don't know if it really really holds up, because I don't know about you, but I feel like it's not really often a choice who your enemies are, especially for the Jedi at this point in Star Wars. They're kind of taking all comers because they're just like, we're defending our code, we're defending the Republic, we're defending the galaxy, blah blah blah. You know, so I don't know if it makes a ton of sense to really say pick your enemies on a personal level. I don't think it really makes a ton of sense either. So I'm just gonna kind of gloss over it. But I don't know. Did you have anything that you thought was particularly significant about it?
I think it was all right. I think it's a weird one, but I think it's a weird one. But I just like it's the enemies to allies dynamic I like, but I just I'm just not a huge fan of this fortune cookie, I guess you could say. Okay. Yeah. By the way, why did Ahsoka get to take R2 on this mission? You can't tell me Anakin didn't need him for things.
Because the story is saying suspend disbelief.
Okay.
Don't question it. Their story is saying, "Oh, come on, man, don't question that."
I know, but like, you know,
we just like
that's
like,
our
oh,
job.
Come on, yeah, we wanted to have that is our job, but we, you know, they're just like, we wanted to have R2, so we're gonna have R2.
Also, I think maybe one of my favorite Hondo lines in this entire arc. No. I'm sure we can make a deal. This is not good business. He's being dragged away by Magna Guards, and he's worrying about profits. You know what they say about Hondo? Can't live with him, can't live without him.
Yeah.
I also, when they were allying together, it is the Force that binds them. Yes, I was just going to say that. Now go, make your flashy laser sword.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
This is definitely... Yeah, I don't know. Good episode.
I got your back. Great. I feel so safe.
Yeah.
It's a fun one. What do you got for the beginning of this episode?
I don't know. I think it's a pretty solid episode. I like, Ahsoka getting her kind of a little more of her due with the heroic moments for the begin. Nothing in particular for the beginning of the episode, I would say.
Okay. So do you want to get to the back half of the episode?
I mean, that is where things start to.
Yeah. What do you think of this duel? What do you think of the lightsaber duel between Ahsoka and Grievous?
I love this duel. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I think it's a really great duel. I love the dynamic. I feel like this is one of those duels where the way it is set up and the way it plays out and the way the characters are moving does a really good job of expressing what the story wants to tell about them. Grievous, he's just coming in. He's enraged. He's like, what the hey? What is going on? He's just trying to come in and kick some ass. But Ahsoka, even though she's been like literally like body slammed by Grievous before.
Yeah.
She still is stepping up because she's just that dedicated.
Yeah.
And she's just on that trajectory.
Absolutely.
That is something that she
kicks his ass.
Yeah. She holds her. I would just kick her ass, but like she holds her own.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like Grievous is absolutely wrecked in this. This fight is one of the reasons why I feel like Grievous was done so dirty in the Clone Wars. Even though I love this fight, Grievous was losing that fight.
Yeah, he was.
Like Ahsoka was getting beat by a Padawan. I know it's Ahsoka, but a Padawan.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's not great. Not great for Grievous, but thought it was a solid episode, exciting. I thought that, like, overall it had some great moments. I really liked how a lot of the heroes got to shine. Gnodi got a good moment. We rescued you. But overall, I felt like it was a perfectly good episode, but I think it fell short in terms of wrapping up the story overall. And I feel like it kind of drops the ball on like the lessons that the first episode is trying to teach. Like that's not something that gets continued.
Interesting. That's an interesting idea, but I don't know. I think it evolves the characters pretty well. I don't know. Anyway, so what do you think of this arc as a whole? That's my question. What do you think of this arc as a whole?
Overall, I thought it was a pretty good arc. I think, unfortunately, I would say that it is kind of less. It does feel a bit of a less than the sum of its parts situation. Just because I think the way it was constructed, it didn't feel super. I mean, if it was perfectly cohesive, but it wasn't like. I felt like within the overall plot, even though the overall plot was solid, made sense, I felt like the episodes, in terms of the subtext of the episodes, some of the B plots, the messaging, it just felt very disjointed from episode to episode, which I think kind of hampered it. But I did like it as an arc. I love the opportunity to see some younglings in action, see Ahsoka get some action. But I kind of wish that Ahsoka and Yoda would have had more time to maybe bond or interact at the beginning. What do you think?
Absolutely, I agree with a lot of what you said. I think mostly this episode, I'm gonna break it to you. This episode is maybe one of my least favorite from the last 3 seasons of the Clone Wars. It's not bad. It's just not great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you have arcs that shine, D Squad, your Onderons, your wrong Jedis, your all that kind of stuff. It's hard to hold up these as incredible episodes because they're not. I at least in my opinion, of course. Yeah, I'm just like I'm just not huge on this whole thing, but it's fine.
Yeah.
How would you rank all of these?
I think for me, number one would have to be a necessary bond, I think. Number two would be a test of strength. Number three would be the gathering, and number four would be bound for rescue. But I don't really have strong feelings about these episodes.
The only strong feelings I have is the gathering is number one for me. The gathering number one, necessary bond number two, bound for rescue number three, a test of strength number four. Let's get off of Star Wars topics that we're not so crazy about, and let's get on to topics that we are kind of crazy about, that we do like. It's time for everybody's favorite part of Star Wars in the galaxy. What you've brought me today is worth 1/4 portion.
Yes.
Welcome back to 1/4 portion, the portion of the galaxy where we do a little bit of something different. Today we have Star Wars opinions. We have 2 opinion questions, and let's get started. Jacob, you want to go first?
Yes. This is an interesting question. If you need a minute to think about this, it's okay. But I really wanted to ask you, what do you think has been since the Disney takeover of Star Wars, since the Disney purchase, what do you think has been the single best calendar year for Star Wars?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I'm going to go with. Let me just check some things. I'm gonna just look this up on Wikipedia. But I'm convinced. Let's see. Yeah. No shit, man. No shit. It's not a contest for me. 2019.
19. So yes. What in 19 gives that the edge?
Well, of course, we have one of the best Star Wars movies released in that year. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker in there. We have the first season of The Mandalorian. We have the second half of the second season of actually no, that's not true. Wait. We have the second half of season 1 of Star Wars Resistance and the first half of season 2 of Star Wars Resistance. We have Jedi Fallen Order. We have the first season of The Mandalorian. I think I might have already mentioned that, but who cares? We got a lot of good stuff in here. 2019, frankly, is just it's my favorite year we've had in Star Wars. I think 2022 is going to be incredible, honestly, because of all the shows we have. But 2019, what about you?
I'm torn on this one. My 2 answers would be 2017 or 2020.
Interesting.
Because
2017 is Last
Jedi, which is not one of the reasons.
I know.
That is actually, for me personally, me strongly disliking The Last Jedi. I think that's one of the things that takes me away.
Yeah. But Rebels,
you have a great season 3. Amazing. You have an amazing tail end of season 3.
BF2.
You have an amazing start. Battlefront 2.
Which didn't have a great start.
It had a terrible start.
But
it was so good to get a game, like a game that really felt fleshed out and really kind of went back.
All the good stuff in season 3 of Rebels, your 0 Hours, your Twin Suns is all 2017.
Yeah.
I can see
also
why.
Season 4, the beginning of season 4.
Beginning of season 4, Heroes, Mandalores, all that kind of stuff, all that good stuff. What else do we have?
There is one important thing that you're forgetting.
In 2017. Let me see.
The 40th anniversary of Star Wars is 2017.
That's
so
pretty
we got
good.
all that good 40th anniversary stuff. Also, particularly from a certain point of view.
Yeah, nobody can forget also the Freemaker Adventures.
I forgot about the Freemaker Adventures, but like that just for me that's the thing where it's like there was no one besides maybe the Rebels finale, and maybe from a certain point of view, there was no one thing that made 2017 like a bombshell year for Star Wars. I think, especially since for me, given my I know from my opinion, giving my opinion about The Last Jedi, until The Last Jedi, I just thought it was a really good year for Star Wars. Just a really good solid year. Strong upward trajectory. Last Jedi kind of turned me off, but if you like that, then it was a great capstone to a great year.
I'm not gonna say The Last Jedi. I'm not gonna convince you to like The Last Jedi or anything. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just saying, like it or not, The Last Jedi made a statement.
Yeah,
like,
made a statement.
It ended at the year with a bang. You know, all of the movies do, but especially I think all three sequels, and especially actually 8 and 9 both ended both years on a bang.
Massive bang, yeah. The argument I think for 2020,
Mando
2, Clone Wars
7. Yeah, Clone Wars 7 would be my personal approach.
You don't need a lot more than that. Also, I know there wasn't really a ton of fanfare. Like they definitely went all out for the 40th anniversary, especially with the books. There wasn't a lot for the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back.
There's also
Empire Strikes Back from a certain point of view.
Yeah, that's good.
Which that alone I thought.
Also
like,
in
awesome.
2020, most of the Rise of Kylo Ren comic, the second half of season 2 of Resistance.
Yeah, there you go. So Resistance gets finished off. Yeah, you got some good stuff in there.
Let's see what else. Yeah, the real legs to stand on here are, of course, Clone Wars season 7 and Mando season 2, of course. What else would be in here? Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising was released. That's something. Yeah, it's really about also 2020 was when Kathleen Kennedy announced the 10 new projects. That was also 2020. That was December 10th, 2020.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
That was all those new projects that were announced on the Disney Plus consumer call. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think it
Darth Vader 6 was published.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's the best part of that year.
And
it's the reintroduction of Ochi of Bestin back into canon. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I think overall,
automatically best year.
I think overall, with everything taken into account, I would say 2020 overall best year for Star Wars.
Yeah.
So you said 2019, I say 2020.
Yeah.
2017, maybe a close runner, maybe a tie.
2018 wasn't too bad either.
Yeah, 2018 was not bad. And 2018 had the most hyped. Personally, I thought that 2018 had the most hyped announcements.
Yeah, but like 2018 was the end of Rebels, was Solo, was what else was 2018? End of Rebels, Solo. That's really it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, beginning of Resistance. That's what it is. The beginning of Resistance is also in. Let's see, what else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, yeah. My first question, okay? What is your favorite Star Wars small moment? You know, one of those moments that's like, it's a throwaway moment, but you really like it.
That is a good question. I think there are so many things that I could choose from. So many things that I know are amazing, and if I think back later about it, I'm going to be like, oh man, why didn't I pick this? But since it's something that I can think about right now, my favorite small moment is in season 2 of Rebels, when Kanan, Ahsoka, and Ezra go into the temple. And Ahsoka, at the last minute, she's running away, and she looks back at Yoda, and Yoda smiles at her, and she smiles back, right before she escapes the collapsing temple. I think that is just... I've talked about this moment before. I've gushed about it at length. I think it's just an amazing moment.
That's a great moment. I love that moment. Let's see, what would mine be? Mine would probably be like one of those small moments. I gotta say, another acknowledgement when C-3PO goes, when Luke's walking out in Last Jedi, Master Luke, and then Luke winks at him.
Yeah,
it's one of those heartwarming moments. Or like I could go with a moment like your nice flying Lando from Wedge in Rise of Skywalker. I could go for a moment like... Here's the one from a deleted scene that I'll do. C-3PO ripping off the danger, be aware of Wampa's sign in a deleted scene for Empire. That's what I'll go with.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your second one?
If we think about the yearly broadcast calendar, thinking about it in terms of a yearly TV broadcast calendar, starts in September.
Yeah.
New shows come out in the fall. Let's just say we're expanding that to movies for the sake of Star Wars now, because, we're kind of blurring the lines a little bit with things like Kenobi coming out. What do you think is the best broadcast year? So September... The way I usually think about it, and most of the content seems to come out, September to June.
Oh.
But we can just say, September to September.
Easy. 2019, 2020.
2019, 2020.
It's all of my other points. Yeah. Just add...
It's the Rise of Skywalker.
Season 7 of the Clone Wars to that.
Season 7 of the Clone Wars
all of my
plus
favorite
Rise of
Star Wars
Skywalker.
stuff from the new canon. Fallen Order, Rise of Skywalker, Clone Wars Season 7.
Yeah. That is a pretty killer list. I would actually say 2020, 2021.
Interesting. So, Season 2 Mando, Bad Batch.
Bad Batch. Actually? No, yeah. That's okay. I'm comfortable with my answer.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty killer list. What I mean?
Yeah.
That's a killer slot.
You could make an argument too if you're a Rogue One fan, as my opinion of Rogue One is kind of ameliorated over the past few years.
The 2016
to 2017
calendar.
Pretty good
with
year
Rogue
if you like
One
Rebels.
And Season 3 and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
that's pretty good if you like Rebels.
I think McDowell would be a huge fan of that.
Yeah. Betcha.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Choose a Star Wars spin-off. So Rogue One or Solo, or I'm going with you can also do one of the live-action TV shows like The Mandalorian. Okay. Choose a spin-off. A character from a spin-off. What character from a Star Wars spin-off do we need a spin-off of?
A spin-off of a spin-off. Man, I feel like I have a lot of answers that feel like cheating. Does it have to be something where it's primarily their primary appearance?
Yes.
Okay. Gosh, let me think.
You can't choose, here's an example. You can't choose, C-3PO appears in Rogue One.
Yeah, okay, I see, yeah.
Or stuff like the Book of Boba Fett. Boba Fett appears in The Mandalorian. Yeah, but
Can you tell me again what you're counting as a spin-off?
Rogue One, Solo, and both seasons of The Mandalorian.
Rogue One, Solo, and Mandalorian.
Live action spin-offs, I'll say. If you say Jin, I will literally...
No, not Jin. What is your answer, though? Because I can't remember mine.
Cobb Vanth spin-off.
Cobb Vanth spin-off. I mean, that sounds pretty good to me.
Why not?
I would want a... Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name. Help me out here. Who's the leader of the Cloud Riders?
Enfys Nest spin-off.
I want an Enfys Nest spin-off.
Oh, yeah, man. Enfys Nest spin-off.
Awesome.
Why not?
She used to terrorize me in my Galaxy of Heroes playing days. So I think it would be cool to change the narrative for me.
Yeah, no. I mean,
she was a pest.
She is.
Enfys.
That's going to be it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, we'll be there. You can follow us on Twitter at Star Wars. Wow. You can follow us on Twitter at InTheGalaxyPod, Instagram at Star Wars in the Galaxy. And email us, swinthegalaxy@gmail.com. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help our visibility. The next episode we will be recording, we are going to be talking about, it's going to be another 2 weeks. It's going to be going to be the D Squad arc. Secret weapons, a sunny day in the void, missing in action, and point of no return. Also, I have an announcement to make that I haven't officially made on In the Galaxy. I will be torturing some people very soon. I will. So
pause. Care to clarify that, Mark?
Former In the Galaxy guest Jared the Dark Jedi, who, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Jared. It was recently put onto Twitter that he got COVID. He got infected with the coronavirus, and I hope he gets better. So, anyway, Jared invited me to write trivia questions for a trivia match between the Bombad cast and the Nerd Academy podcast, which I've done. So, guys, good luck with the questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd rank these as 12s. They're diabolical.
Oh boy, definitely gonna have to tune into this.
Yeah. I'm going to be hosting with Pete Fletzer from Star Wars Around the Galaxy, that great show. And yeah, absolutely check them out, and I'm very excited to be doing that. In the meanwhile, may the Force be with you, always.